It is too early, bro. Couldn't you go to somebody else's door? If my dream art style isn't behind this door, I'm going right back to bed. Hello? Why me? Huh? Oh my gosh, it's the Intangbo SW! The amazing team at Parblo sent me their Intangbo SW drawing tablet, so what better excuse to talk about and draw my OCs. But first, let's review this absolute bad boy. Heyskiis Gooblins! This is my first review ever, so bear with me. The packaging was pretty simple, and oh my gosh, the drawing tablet looks so cute! It's just so pleasing to look at with the colors and just the way it's built. The tablet has 6 express keys and this cool little scroll wheel. Next is the tablet's easy to read guide, which also comes in Chinese as well. Of course, we're provided with 6 extra pen nibs. Alongside that, an OTG adapter to connect to mobile devices as well. And of course, this really compact cord, which comes with a conveniently designed strap. And not to forget the second star of the show, the pen. It's got such a nice design with 2 little buttons at the top, and I've actually never used a pen with such a build, but it looks really pretty though. It comes with its own carry-on ring, which you can use to take out and insert nibs if you need to. Another super cool feature is that the back part can be taken off and can be used as a nib holder. It can hold up to 3 nibs, and that's really cool if you think about it. A carry-on pen with all the nibs equipped. Now it's time to take this guy for a little test drive. Welcome to my secondary home, my desk. This is where all the content creation stuff happens. A little bit about my other drawing tablet. I have to use a mouse pad under it because it moves around a lot on my table and it doesn't have much of a grasp on the bottom. But as you can see, the Parblo drawing tablet has these little stability assists at the bottom, which really assisted greatly on my table, and honestly there was not much of a slip issue. I'm just taking off a sticker in this clip, but the Parblo tablet also has a little indentation for your pen to rest. But anyways, it's time to connect this thing. Automatically, the pen and tablet are functional with my computer, but it's best practice to download the drivers anyways. And that's how you're able to change up settings and hotkeys and the such. The download was extremely simple. It had to be less than 3 clicks to actually get it, and honestly, that was really nice and assuring to me. So I got right into testing. The scroll wheel has been a really big help throughout this drawing, and there's so many other hotkeys that you can use. I'm not much of a hotkey person, but I did put the pen button as Ctrl-Z so I could do some quick undos, and that was really beneficial. I just doodle up something to get accustomed to the pen tablet, and it's got this little texture to the tablet that's so refreshing. It's kind of like drawing on paper, and I love it so much. But anyways, as you guys can see, I have a lot of wires on my desk, and I don't like that at all. But the Parblo drawing tablet does something that I didn't know was even possible. It has Bluetooth, and I love it so much. It's so easy to work out, and honestly, if you try it for yourself, you're gonna love it. It just saves up so much space. I was trying to do a celebratory pen spin, but yeah, that didn't work out. Anyways. The description will have links to where you can find this affordable, easy to use, aesthetically pleasing drawing tablet. Thank you again, Parblo. Now we can talk about the cool OCs you guys have all been waiting for. Before we talk about these cool guys, let me give you guys some background. Disclaimer though, I am watering down the lore and scratching out details for both time and viewer comfortability reasons. But if you have strong feelings towards the troubled teen industry and any of its negative components, viewer discretion is heavily advised. Let's begin. By the way, this speed paint was made using the Intangbo SW. This is Grey Academy, a troubled teen institute utilizing a year-round boarding school from ages 14 to 18 to assist teens with a range of life management skills. But that's just the surface, I fear. The academy is supported on questionable pillars, most notably greed, but we'll come back to that later. The academy's culture is primarily supported by its hierarchy. The academy principal, ma'am, who oversees everything. the class counselors who oversee their individual class and students, and the working men who range in their duties. From teachers to scouts to office workers, they oversee general academy functionality. The kids are assorted into levels, so to speak, called classes. A class being powerful to F class being seen as less than, alongside the extremely privileged and strong S class. All of which have placement decided by athletic ability, intelligence, and occasionally wealth. In each class, there are class backends, which are like the self-proclaimed or class-agreed class presidents. And last but not least, the class students. Without them, this entire operation would be reduced to absolutely nothing. And yet, they are not treated as such. I know that was quite a bit of waffling, but now let's talk about the OCs you've all been waiting for. Brickz has surprisingly become a fan favorite, so... Wait, what? This poll says otherwise. Well, Brickz starts with B, and B is the second letter of the alphabet, so let's start with him. Yeah. Brickz is a 15-year-old boy who's been living at Grey Academy for a little over a year. He's quite reserved and tends to be very rash when it comes to communication. The image you're seeing is an old reference sheet. Brickz' hair used to be up all the time actually, which is a little funny. Brickz was sent off to live with his very southern grandparents at a young age. And for some context, Brickz is mixed. He's black and white. His mother did not make it the day that Brickz was born, and his truck driving father needed some assistance, so off Brickz went. Grandpa was a tough guy, and Brickz was a soft little kid, so Grandpa took up toughening him up. But the methods weren't the best, not even close. Grandma was a sweetie. Brickz called her mama, actually. She made him hot cocoa all the time, alongside some apple pie. But she'd also cause heat damage to his hair trying to tame it, and leave him to suffer unreasonable punishments just because Grandpa said so. So take that how you will. They had their family dog Brosco, and that was Brickz' first friend. He was homeschooled, which was mostly just help mama around the house, and his only outside association was church and the TV. So Brosco became his one and only listener. It was common for Grandpa to lock up the fridge and cabinets to punish Brickz. He'd usually just eat Brosco's dog food, but after some time, Brosco was no more. Grandpa said he was getting useless for hunting. Brickz came to hate hunger. He hated yearning. He hated begging. It didn't matter the situation. He couldn't take it at all. And at that moment, he decided if he wanted something, he had to get it. Grandma and Grandpa were both out one day, and Brickz was alone with not even crumbs to rely on. The TV was playing, and suddenly an idea practically grabbed his brain. Just do what the people with the black masks on TV do. Get what you want. With hunger and heavy media influence, he took the idea. So, without hesitation, he grabbed the firearm from under Grandpa's side of the bed and walked to the nearest gas station. It was already late in the evening. And, eventually, he made it there. He entered, dazed and disoriented, and looked to the cashier. He shakingly revealed the gun, pointing it directly at the man. He tried to speak, to order the man to give him food, but it seems his voice was caught. It wasn't long before another customer tackled him, and next thing you know, he was detained by police. Grandparents alerted, and within 2 days, he was shipped off to Grey Academy by Grandpa. He was 14, but being so malnourished, he was mistaken for younger, delaying the proceeding of what to do with him. Whew, that was a spiel. Let's talk about Jebediah, or more commonly known as Jeb. Jeb is a 16-year-old who transferred from a juvenile detention center into Grey Academy, with hopes of becoming human. He's rude and blunt, struggling with regulating his thoughts and emotions. He was raised by his two loving parents. Unfortunately, they're quite neglectful, working overseas for weeks, even months at a time, leaving Jeb on his own. Daily FaceTime calls don't fill the void, sadly. He was one of the smartest kids at his school, and his family was wealthy, buying him everything he wished. On the way back from school one day, he bumped into the wrong group of boys. They were older than him, seniors, and he was just a freshman. And from then on, they bullied him relentlessly, every day on his way home. He tried different avenues, but they'd only work for a little while, and the threat of following him home if they didn't see him enough was enough to keep him on the path as they wished. He thought he could shake them eventually, but every day was like a new bullying tactic to be tested. One day, a knife was brought into the equation. The boys used it just to scare him, but they took it too far. One of the boys gave it to him and senselessly joked for Jeb to get rid of them and solve all his problems. One of the boys told him to point the knife at him. Jeb listened, not wanting to be hurt by the boys. The boy walked close, patronizing Jeb to do something, and without another moment, with the knife pointed towards the boy's torso, Jeb was pushed real hard. At least, that's what he says. Police came quick. He was jailed, his parents were summoned from overseas, and his fate was soon decided. He was a wreck in court and could barely recant the story without sobbing. The conclusion was settled. Guilty. His parents weren't going to raise a delinquent. They bailed him out of juvie after a year and sent him to Gray Academy, on assumption he'd learned his lesson and having hopes to salvage what was left of their son. Why do I do this to my characters? Anyways, Jeb has sleep problems now. That's why he has the darks under his eyes. Now for Madeline, a 17-year-old who's been in Gray Academy for half a year. In hindsight, she's an absolute star, a legacy ballerina, unmatched in talent at her age, nationally recognized. Her parents were divorced and her mother trained her into perfection, a specialized diet, beauty maintenance, and strict training. She was spoiled, but she was an insanely hard worker to make up for it. Her mother made sure all aspects of her life surrounded her being a ballerina, and her training methods were unruly. It didn't matter how hard, her mother never saw her results as satisfactory. A championship was underway. Her mother's stress on winning converted to Madeline's anxiety. She performed, but with overworked and bruised ankles, alongside so much crushing stress and anxiety, she was turned into a walking second-place medal. Her mother, in a fit of rage, berated her with words, cut her hair, and gave her practical rags, shipping her off to the academy. Goodness, that took a while. Now we can start talking about some non-context stuff. For one, I guess it's important to talk about the medium my OCs are in. These guys are destined to be in a visual novel, called Swan as an Allegory. The game itself is not currently in the works, and to be honest, I don't know when it'll be in the works. Maybe one day I'll create a Kickstarter or something. I've had ideas on making it a mixed media game where you can play through the eyes of Jeb or Brickz, who are being individually pseudo-interrogated by their therapist, Dr. O. You get to play out the past scenarios that happened, understanding their thoughts and decisions as the game progresses. But enough about the game, that doesn't even exist yet. It's time for some story elements. Brickz experienced the most of the academy being there the longest, alone and invisible. But then he met Jeb, and an act of kindness from Jeb sprouted their friendship. Jeb was a natural sweetheart, but he'd grown to believe himself a crazed monster, spewing spite and snarkiness. But Brickz and his struggling social skills only saw his sweet demeanor, noting him as his best friend off the bat. Madeline, a B-class student who came to be regarded as beauty throughout the academy, caught wind of Jeb's presence. He was being rumored as a killer, but alongside that, his selfless deeds were the talk of many classes. Kids didn't typically stick up for each other, especially ones they didn't know, but Jeb did. She was intrigued, wondering how she could use him, and she didn't hide that with the way she spoke or acted around him. Jeb was so touch-starved, vulnerable, and conflicted. But Madeline? She was there. I guess this is the part where I mentioned Madeline's boyfriend, Yvonne. He's an A-class student, but he's also the A-class backend. He's feared throughout the school. Even the working men turn their heads to his disobedience. Jeb, though, even when such has been brought to his attention, has his infatuation still lurking. So, in summary, Madeline is interested in Jeb, for whatever reason. Jeb is infatuated with Madeline. Brickz is best friends with Jeb. Jeb is friends with Brickz. Brickz hates Madeline's guts, and Madeline rarely acknowledges Brickz. Now for some resolve stuff. Brickz wants to survive with his best friend, and his definition of survival fluctuates throughout the story. Jeb wants to heal and become a good person. He's disgusted in himself, assuming he's a monster. Madeline wants to escape, no matter what. Her morality has little to no bounds. Since these guys are in a visual novel form, there are multiple different endings that change the way they act, so it's hard to specify with their story, but I'll instead provide you guys with some character details now that you have some ideas of them. Brickz would literally do anything for Jeb. His mama, or grandma, used to tell him stories about how good friends were more important than gold. Jeb, although rough with his words and attitude, was always nice to Brickz. And because of such, Brickz put himself in serious danger multiple times. He's also done a few questionable things for Jeb's benefit, not seeing anything wrong with it because, well, Jeb's his friend. Unfortunately, Brickz knows Jeb is smart and athletic enough to be in more than Class C. In fact, he's surprised Jeb ended up with him. So he gets a bit destructive in ensuring he can keep his friend, making others push away from him, getting clingy, and other varying things. Jeb is Brickz' favorite person. Brickz has anemia. On cold nights, he'd leave his top bunk and cuddle up with Jeb. As a kid, he used to cuddle up with Brosko when he was cold. Jeb really hated the touch, especially at night. Although he's been touch-starved, he'd previously struggled with sensory, and little sensory exposure in juvie left him struggling with touch even more. So he denied Brickz multiple times. But when Brickz explained he was genuinely freezing, Jeb lightened up to the idea. The rest is history. Actually, Jeb wears a long-sleeve turtleneck and sweats because of his sensory issues. He sees this as the most comfortable. The kids partake in forced labor under the guise of PE, and Madeline usually finds her ways of skipping just to see Jeb. That's a risk, but anything to see her bestie Westie, right? Brickz tries not to blurt out random things, but he just hasn't had the chance to be so comfortable in a long time. It usually annoys Jeb how off topic he gets, but seeing how he smiles and starts rambling kinda lessens the annoyance for Jeb. Sometimes Brickz overthinks. Unable to read Jeb, he wonders if he has any worth in his eyes. He typically paces and cups his face when he's stressed. Jeb usually just has to tell him to calm down to get him back. Jeb's words really do have a toll on him. As for Jeb, he has nightmares. It keeps him from sleeping most nights, waking up and thinking he's harmed someone, or thinking he's all alone in his cell again. He struggles with processing these things. Brickz is typically there to snap him out of his daze, but sometimes it's Madeline too. Jeb calls Madeline Mads. He took up the name and claimed it saved time. Jeb, being a sweetheart, doesn't like seeing people get hurt. He'd rather it be him. For the most part, he's a pacifist. He doesn't take care of himself properly. So long in juvie racked his sense of preservation. At times, Madeline may rewrap the bandages on his arms or brush his hair just to get him in the right state of mind. Madeline is quite touchy with Jeb, offering kisses, hugs, and the such. Even though Madeline doesn't partake in competitive ballet anymore, when it's past curfew, she sneaks to the riverside to dance in the moonlight. Madeline, contrary to popular belief, is strong due to years of extensive dance. She's not afraid to hit someone. Even with her strength though, Madeline uses lies and snitches to get Yvonne or others to hurt people she doesn't fancy much. Jeb spent most of his time in juvie doing math problems in his head. He was scared he'd lose his sanity. Part of him believes he lost it anyways. But hey, he knows the multiplication table up to 50 by 50, so that's cool. Madeline uses her charm to get her way with most people, including Jeb too. She's even started to take a toll on his morality. Aside from that, she loves sweets since she didn't have much access to them when she was with her mom. Brickz is extremely picky, which makes living at Grey Academy harsh. He may eat 1 or 2 things on his lunch plate and leave the rest. Because of that, on days where there's something that Brickz actually finds appetizing, Jeb shoves his plate to him, knowing he won't eat a good meal in a while. Being that Brickz was improperly homeschooled, he struggles with reading and writing. Still, he has his own diary, although when he first obtained it, he unknowingly named it Dairy. Jeb found it funny, and with a conventionally found cow sticker, Brickz' Dairy was coined. Sometimes Brickz doodles in there and just talks about his day. I have some old drawings that represent parts of Brickz' diary. Or should I say, dairy. Jeb hates being stared at. Being locked away from society so long creates its own problems. His inability to accept being recognized is one. That being said, he accidentally gives off wrong expressions paired with the fact he's easily irritable. So most of the times, he's mad or looks mad. Oddly enough, Brickz has an insanely good sense of smell and sound. It freaks Jeb out sometimes. The academy prides itself on grades and such, so schoolwork is very important. Brickz, though, struggles with math. But Jeb usually helps him out with studying. Usually until Brickz falls asleep. Brickz loves socks. He's liked them since he was a kid. Those earrings that Madeline wears are a gift from Yvonne, but sometimes when she's with Jeb, she takes them off, being that Jeb knows they're from Yvonne. Jeb doesn't really like the idea of stealing someone's girl. He's tried to push Madeline away, but either she gets mad, tugging at his heartstrings, or she plays into his feelings, convincing him that Yvonne won't know, and that he's not as kind as Jeb is. It's an unfortunate situation, but as stated, this is a visual novel. Takes on their relationship fluctuate quite a bit, but do understand these guys are canonically unhealthy. Aside from playing with people's feelings, Madeline has a sweet persona with so much personality. She's open and is able to talk to almost everyone. Fun fact about Brickz though, when he was brought to the academy, he didn't partake in the original placement test. He refused because he wanted to see Mama. He was placed in F class, the worst place a child could go. But in his heart, he'd already decided he wanted to live. So, he did some questionable things to get out of there, to climb to Class C, where he felt comfortable enough to stop climbing the ranks. He's unknown, but he's recognized for climbing from nothing. Madeline, knowing there are some higher-ranked kids interested in Jeb, seeing his newfound popularity, makes deals around, ensuring he's hers to deal with. Yvonne comes to find out about this whole fiasco, and what better way to express this than attacking Jeb the moment a situation can be escalated? But that's the surface. Yvonne is not an A-class student because of wealth or strength, albeit he is insanely strong. He was placed because of his intelligence. He sees Jeb's potential, and contrary to the belief based on his actions, his love for Madeline is a pastime, and a label he can flaunt. If someone can free these kids from this academy, Yvonne believes it's gonna be Jeb. But as doctors say, be it muscle, bones, or your resolve, if it breaks, it's gonna come back stronger. So, does Jeb become a better person? Is Madeline able to use Jeb as she pleases? Do Brickz and Jeb keep their friendship? And what of my many other characters that are featured in this story? Well, I guess I can't cover all such things in one video, but who knows, maybe one day you'll come to learn more. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It took forever, but it's done! All, and I mean all, the assets in this video were made using the Parblo Intangbo SW. The links to this amazing product are in the description, so make sure to at least just check it out, even if you're not interested. Of course, these are not all my OCs or an entire succinct story, but I still hope you guys enjoyed. Also, peep the new mic, voice quality is goated a little bit. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please, if you have questions about my OCs or anything about the story, drop them and I will really try and get back to you. But anyways, bye bye!